I used to believe I had the kind of marriage most people envied. Daniel was everything a woman could ask for: attentive, funny, ambitious, and most importantly, consistent. He never forgot birthdays, always picked up my favorite snacks without me asking, and held my hand during long drives like we were still in our 20s. We had built a life full of routines, quiet joys, and mutual respect. I never questioned it. I never had a reason to. Then there was Lena, my best friend since college. She was the kind of woman who lit up every room she entered. People naturally gravitated toward her, and I was proud to have her in my life. She was the type who texted to check in, who showed up unannounced with wine and stories, and who laughed loud enough to make others join in. Our friendship had weathered everything: breakups, job losses, family drama. Through it all, Daniel had always welcomed her with open arms. He even called her his second wife, a joke that once made me laugh. Once. The three of us were inseparable. Sunday brunches turned into long afternoons on the patio. Lena would always help me in the kitchen, sneaking spoonfuls of whatever I was making while Daniel kept our glasses full. Sometimes, I'd find them mid-conversation, whispering and laughing about something I wasn't part of. I didn't think twice. I trusted them both. There were no warning signs, at least not the kind you pay attention to when you think your world is solid. Looking back, I remember subtle things. The way Lena would touch his arm when making a point, how her compliments toward him grew more personal over time. How Daniel started dressing better on weekends, even if we had nowhere special to go. Once, I walked into the living room to find them sitting close on the couch, looking at something on his phone. They pulled away quickly, but again, I dismissed it. I told myself not to be paranoid. These were my two favorite people. There was no room for doubt in a space filled with so much history. There were even moments I encouraged their closeness. I joked that if anything ever happened to me, Lena could take over. It was just harmless banter, I thought. Part of the comfort we all shared. If only I'd known how seriously someone would take those words. Still, nothing prepared me for the shift that was coming. Nothing about our daily lives, our shared dinners, bedtime routines, or lazy Saturday mornings, hinted at betrayal. I believed love was enough, and I believed they loved me in their own ways. But belief can be a dangerous thing. It can make you blind. It can make you miss the one truth hiding in plain sight. Just because everything looks perfect doesn't mean it actually is. And by the time I realized that, the damage had already started. Lena asked to meet for lunch one Thursday. Her tone over the phone was unusual, too careful, too rehearsed. I assumed it was about work or maybe a family issue, something we'd talk through over coffee and laughter like we always did. But when I saw her, she wasn't herself. No makeup, no flair, just eyes that couldn't meet mine and hands that wouldn't stay still. She didn't wait long. "I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to hate me," she said. My stomach turned, but I nodded. I had no idea what was coming. Then she said it. "I've developed feelings for Daniel." Just like that. As if confessing to a crush on a stranger. My heart stalled. I froze, blinked, tried to process it like it was a bad joke that would quickly unravel into something else. But her face didn't change. Before I could speak, she rushed in with, "I didn't plan it. It just happened. He's so easy to talk to. He listens, he understands me, and I know it's wrong, but I couldn't lie to you." I stared at her, speechless, anger rising fast but tangled in disbelief. And then came the part that made my skin crawl. I told him, and he didn't say no. We talked. A lot. I proposed something untraditional. I thought maybe the three of us could try something different. An arrangement. He agreed. I remember every word, every syllable that shattered the version of life I thought I was living. My first instinct was denial. No, Daniel wouldn't agree to that. He wasn't that man. But Lena just looked down, silent, like she already knew I'd react this way. I stood up, didn't say a word, and left. My hands shook the whole drive home. When I confronted Daniel, he didn't deny it. He looked tired, guilty, but not surprised. "I didn't want to hurt either of you," he said. "Lena came to me, and I thought maybe there was a way to be honest with all our feelings." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just betrayal. This was collaboration. My husband and my best friend negotiating something behind my back like I was just a variable in their equation. Asked him if he loved her.
He said it wasn't about that.
It's not love. It's connection. Something different. You and I are still us. Still us? What did that even mean now? I felt like I was watching my life from outside my own body. I asked if he thought I'd ever be okay with it. He said he hoped I'd be open-minded. Open-minded. That word burned through me. As if commitment was flexible. As if trust could be revised with a conversation. I walked out of the room without another word, because I knew that if I spoke, it would come out as screaming. I sat in the dark that night, trying to understand how two people I trusted more than anyone could look me in the eye and expect me to say yes to being betrayed with consent. The days that followed felt like I was trapped in someone else's life. Every moment was surreal, like my body kept moving but my mind refused to catch up. I didn't return Lena's calls. I ignored Daniel's attempts to sit me down. I wasn't ready to hear another justification, not after what they had done. I needed silence. I needed space. I needed to remember who I was before they twisted everything. I kept going back to all the memories, the smiles, the touches, the so-called harmless jokes. They weren't harmless now. They were clues I had chosen not to see. I thought back to the night Lena showed up crying over a breakup and Daniel comforted her while I made tea. She stayed the night, slept in the guest room, or so I believed. Now I wondered if that had been the beginning, or just one of many moments they conveniently rewrote for me. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that I had handed them my trust like a gift, wrapped it with sincerity, and they quietly returned it torn. I started doubting myself, my instincts, my intelligence, my value. How could I have been so blind? How could I not have noticed the shift? Was I that easy to deceive? I stopped eating meals with Daniel. I slept on the couch. Every interaction became strained, mechanical. He apologized in small ways, doing the dishes, offering to cook, leaving notes. But none of it erased the fact that he had agreed. He didn't hesitate. He didn't fight for our boundaries. He opened the door when Lena knocked, and together they chose something I never would have allowed. When I finally answered Lena's text, it was short. Not ready. Don't contact me again. Her reply was paragraphs of guilt, explanations, and the audacity of affection. She wrote, I still love you as my friend. I deleted it before I could finish. Friends don't break your heart and call it love. I started journaling again. Something I hadn't done since college. The pages filled quickly, not with questions for them, but questions for myself.
What did I need now?
What was I willing to tolerate? I didn't know the answers yet, but the act of writing reminded me that I still existed outside of their choices. I was more than a wife, more than a friend. I was a person with limits, and those limits had been crossed. I spoke to my sister. She listened, didn't interrupt, and when I was done, she only said, You didn't deserve this. You don't have to make sense of it to walk away from it. That stayed with me, because for days, I had been trying to make sense of something built on selfishness and entitlement. But not everything needs a reason. Sometimes the pain is enough. And I was in pain, not just from what they did, but from how little they seemed to grasp what they had destroyed. I didn't need more time. I needed clarity, and it came one morning when I looked at Daniel across the kitchen. He smiled like things were normal, like time could heal what choice had broken. That's when I knew it was over. Not in some explosive way, but in the quiet knowing that the version of us I loved no longer existed. He had replaced it with something unrecognizable, something I didn't agree to, didn't choose, and would never accept. I told him I was done.
Calmly.
No yelling, no begging for explanations. Just the truth. I could forgive mistakes, but not decisions made against me. He looked stunned, like he truly didn't expect me to walk away. He kept saying, We can work through this. Let's talk to someone. But I'd already done all the talking I needed to myself. I told him I was leaving, that I deserved a relationship built on respect, not convenience. He cried. That didn't move me. I packed only what I needed. Clothes, books, my journal. I left behind wedding photos, shared furniture, and every piece of the life we built that no longer held meaning. Lena messaged again, saying she was sorry, that she never wanted to lose me.
I didn't reply.
Some things don't deserve closure, only distance. The apartment I moved into was small, quiet, and nothing like our house. But it was mine. I slept without checking the clock for when he'd come to bed. I cooked without wondering who else he was thinking of. I started taking long walks again, listening to music, remembering who I was before I became someone's second option. There were nights I missed the comfort, but not the people. I missed the illusion more than the reality. That was the hardest part, realizing how much of my happiness was based on what I thought was true. But once the truth arrived, there was no unknowing it. And honestly, I didn't want to. I began therapy. I didn't go to heal the relationship. I went to heal myself. To understand why I trusted so deeply without making sure I was being protected in return. My therapist said, "Love doesn't mean abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable." That sentence became my anchor. I'm not angry anymore. Not because what they did was forgivable, but because I refused to let their choices define my future. I left the house, the marriage, and the friendship behind. I kept my dignity. That was enough. Sometimes people don't fall out of love, they fall out of character. And when they do, it's not your job to pull them back. It's your job to save yourself.
So I did.
I walked away, not because I stopped loving him, but because I started loving myself more. And that's not weakness. That's survival.